Governance is simply knowing the rules, agreeing on them, and checking that we're still following them. It's the difference between handing your kid scissors and handing them kids scissors plus the rule only at the kitchen table, blade down. Hey there, I'm Alex Kalish, and this is Practical Prompting, the podcast that turns generative AI hype into everyday wins. Each episode follows a 2-act play. Act 1 tackles a real-life household headache with a single deep dive in how you can use generative AI to help. And Act 2 provides an executive zoom out to the bigger picture use at work. This episode of Practical Prompting is for executives, a limited run inside Practical Prompting feed designed for leaders who just don't have time to ride the hype train. You need concrete business value yesterday. Today's Act 1 Spotlight. Going to be talking about creating family guardrails in less than 10 minutes. For our Act 2 Spotlight, I want to show what good risk management looks like, what governance looks like in the realm of generative AI, and what happens without it. And we'll go into a deep dive on something recent that just transpired because of improper governance. So if you're into actionable nerdness served with a side of dad jokes, grab your coffee, open your favorite chat window, or actually keep your eyes on the road if you're listening while driving, and let's get prompting. Practical prompting. Today's Act 1, we want to talk about 2 tiny guardrails that have a big impact and what no governance actually looks like in each one of those scenarios. First up, I want to talk about a kid-friendly content policy. So if guardrails are in place and you've got proper governance, there's a clear kid-level rules without jargon, when to ask an adult when to share something, when not to share, what not to share, and having some parental reviews. What happens if guardrails are missing? I mean, you can start getting into full name, school address, into public databases. There are bots out there, malicious users on the other end steering the conversation towards grooming or scams. There's COPPA fines that can be up to $50,000 per child record, and your family email could get spammed. Digital footprint becomes permanent, and now all of your online presence is at the hands of bad actors. And what this encompasses is how you can take that problem that we don't really have a proper governance model and start using generative AI to assist in that realm. So you can ask generative AI to walk you through a 150-word quick rules of the household with maybe some emojis involved. You can do something like you're a privacy coach. Craft me a prompt which would draft a 150-word policy which tells a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old when they may use generative AI and other social media and what never to share, including emojis. This craft me a prompt, and then using that prompt can translate what is a pretty nuanced topic into some general guardrails that can be pasted up on the fridge and revisited throughout the year. So a second option in the realm of just household everyday usage involves voice assistants and how easy it can become to leverage generative AI to solve privacy headaches. If you're like me, I might or might not read through all the terms of services for all the different things I sign up for. But what's great is generative AI can help provide insights into how different companies are using your data. So instead of reading through the entire terms of service, you can just paste a screenshot of, say, your local voice assistant that is located throughout your rooms. You could take a screenshot of your voice assistant's settings and say, hey, what are the 3 biggest issues that I might have with these settings for my voice assistant? Because I guarantee there are ways that current household uses in your household are collecting data and it's being stored by larger companies. And maybe you don't want that. So you could have years of raw household recordings, including some intimate or legally sensitive moments that are just on vendor servers. That probably nothing's going to happen. But at the same time, subpoenas and civil suits can force disclosure of entire histories. Vendors can use clips to train models, and conversations might surface in future responses or regurgitation within the voice assistant. So one of the things you could do is have generative AI just look at your privacy settings, establishing a new way and a new path forward for you and your family to interact with technology in the way that feels safest for you. And if you don't find you care a tremendous amount about giving up your data, that's great. If you do, that's also great. Either way, you can do a privacy check and check the guardrails that the companies that are in your house are using and make sure that they match what your goals are. A couple takeaways on this like general household stuff is that data is never really forgotten. The longer that ungoverned data stays alive, the more different places it can leak into. That conversation that happened 3 years ago because you haven't asked or set the proper settings still is living somewhere. And every day that goes by is just another day that it might be leaked. Now, whether or not that is a sensitive component that generates some significant losses kind of depends on the context as well as the breach itself. But these databases can cause, just by existing, can cause that to happen. Now, small stakes, you might think a very cheap, off-the-shelf, voice-activated voice assistant in your house. It can record marital arguments, and a $20 per user large language model workspace can store merger talks forever unless somebody presses the purge switch. And so by establishing governance on where and when data is stored and used enables you to make sure that it's kept for the right reasons. Governance is pretty cheap when you think about it. That kid policy, that's 10 minutes of time. Maybe a fridge magnet, maybe a quick printout, and that's going to be way better than the identity theft remediation, therapy bills, like just recovery, making the time that you would spend to create entirely new digital personas. All of that is much more comprehensive. It takes a lot longer than just a quick 10-minute prompting exercise. A voice assistant auto delete is a free toggle versus $10,000 worth of discovery and a bill for future court proceedings. The premise here is that we can't preach cyber hygiene across the board and at scale if we can't model it at home. Auto deleting some of those components that you're so structured about at work is really impactful when you start thinking about using generative AI to solve that business problem at home and then translating that into your executive workplace. Some household governance components that you can think of is like the 4 C's. Consent, as who's affected by this? Clarity, just make it plain language. Coverage can include every device in your household. And checks, some sort of calendar reminder in order to review. The real benefit here is a process and not a specific tool. By analyzing your own habits, you can form a different habit loop where you're detecting and you're deciding what you should and shouldn't keep. You're documenting different things and then deleting what isn't needed. So now I want to, if you can auto delete those voice assistant logs, if you can get your entire family marching to the same data governance package, then you certainly can establish something within your organization and rotate those safety and security keys using generative AI as well. Let's move into Act 2. Act 2, I'm going to touch on some of the risk and compliance as well as visibility to governance at the enterprise scale. Right now, 39% of consumers already are pasting sensitive data into public generative AI tools. That's not cloistered away enterprise environment. That's just the public tools. And as of now, as of the time of this recording, courts require OpenAI to keep all consumer tier chat logs indefinitely. However, enterprise and education tenants, so those that have built an enterprise system and carved out their OpenAI playground, they're exempt. We're just talking about people using the regular ChatGPT without enterprise access. So the cheapest use of ChatGPT, the personal one, is the most risk, has the most risk. Some of the managed service providers, so IT, information technology, MSPs, are reporting client staff, so their customers, their different managed services that they provide, and they're funneling client level information into free ChatGPT components. Just for a quick summary. Now that log is going to be required to be kept by OpenAI indefinitely with just and so as we start thinking about how people are interacting with generative AI and how many consumers are already pasting sensitive data into public tools, you can see how this creates a riskier and riskier loop going forward. And you can analyze this risk by asking ChatGPT or Gemini or any tool to craft you a prompt that creates a deep research prompt on analyzing the risks associated with your company and your current employees pasting sensitive content into non-enterprise systems and generative AI solutions, and what is the risk to your business for that. Let's get into a case study here. So a case study cautionary tale is the Tea app. That's Tango Echo Alpha, TEA, like tea that you sip. You're drinking tea. It's an app. It's a cool idea. So there was a junior founder, about 6 months of coding experience, who shipped this new app. It was a women-only app that let users swap intel on the men that they were dating. Basically, are we dating the same guy? Photos, the conversation logs, how that person might have treated them as an app. This was just a rapid vibe coded. So vibe coding is a term that people are using where a coder is kind of creating an app using more agentic components and just doing a couple check-ins throughout the process. And this vibe coded app, it created an entire app without very many formal reviews. And the result was 2 million signups in days from Business Insider, if you want to take a look at that. So the governance gap here is that this is a great idea. And with the proper governance in mind, using generative AI to help create this, fantastic. Getting it out of the door super early, fantastic. Getting a bunch of signups, all of this is a huge success story. We're talking about it in a risk and governance and compliance standpoint because the secrets and the credentials were hard coded in the client. So anyone who downloaded that client information could grab the authentication keys and talk directly with the production databases with full read, write, delete rights. A researcher actually did this with 2 lines. So Fallout, okay, if it can happen, it's probably going to happen. So the open storage bucket leaked 72,000 ID verified selfies, and a second leak exposed 1.1 million private direct messages between app users. These are women that are talking about cheating, assault, abortions, just different relationship level, highly charged situations, and it's all leaked and provided on the internet. Again, a vibe-coded generative AI solution, an agentic solution, which is great, fantastic, gets it out the door, but without proper governance, led to tens of thousands of people impacted, and their raw, very emotionally charged conversations out on the web for anyone to view. Why does this matter to execs? I mean, if you're following along, you can immediately realize that these consumer level leaks are discoverable evidence and impacting future legal opportunities. You can imagine a place where fixes become not just a nice to have, but a requirement, and costing minimal to nothing compared to the legal and brand damage associated with leaks like this. You've got security pros that are warning that while the speed of vibe coding is extremely prevalent, there is a weekend project could turn into a potential PR public relations grenade. So good intentions aren't a defense here. If your intern can push a production level code with an API key at 2 a.m., you just need the guardrails yesterday. So how can we start analyzing this going forward? The first thing is to plug the leak before it starts. You can create a enterprise service where your current employees can use as a playground and block the OpenAI the chat.openai.com and just send all traffic to your enterprise client. And that enterprise carved out system now enables a lot more security and safety as well as data protections just from the outset. Audits don't necessarily have to equal surveillance here. You don't need to be logging prompt input and output in order to get significant value in figuring out how risky and providing proper guardrails are. You can anonymize IDs to after 90 days in order to satisfy both legal hold and privacy concerns, and then perform analysis on how your organization is using those. So you're not surveilling your employees, but you can audit what they're using generative AI for. Additionally, as technical systems and new options come on the market, every new plugin that you bring into your organization is a new vendor. And treating marketplace installs like software as a service, that onboarding becomes more and more critical. Additionally, people are going to flow towards the least resistance. So you want to make it really easy for your people to do the right thing. make it so easy that they log into an enterprise client and everything is secure there. Good governance starts at the kitchen table, and it also scales to the boardroom. If your voice assistant can auto-delete jokes, then your enterprise can too. And your courts, your bank accounts are going to thank you for it in the future. If you're ready to see what this looks like in practice, hit me up in whatever way feels easiest, from DMing me in LinkedIn or emailing me at alex@loloai.com. So that's Lima Oscar Lima Alpha India.com. Alex spelled just as Alex. And I'll get us some time on the calendar and we can talk through it. Next episode, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the ways that you can lead from the front as an executive. So continuing our executive path forward, our executive series here, I want to just talk about how to model a 30 prompt a day. What does that look like, and how can you personally gain that kind of value? Until then, remember, it's not about the perfect tool. It's about the habit of asking better questions. This was Practical Prompting in the Executive Series.